Okay, coming up on our Finding Better podcast, I've got Tim Rosolio joining me. Tim is a vice president at Expedia Group and an old friend of mine and a really good guy. And we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about the power of doing something you love, and we're going to talk about the power of building relationships to do better business. And this has to do with your customers, has to do with your teams, everything, right? Because with the rise of technology that's happened over the last decades and the current rise of artificial intelligence, the thing is that relationships are as important as ever. Okay, so sit back and enjoy. Here we go. Hello, 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 and welcome back to our Finding Better podcast. My name is John Suzuki, and I am your host. And here at Finding Better, we believe that one of the surest ways to success is to learn from those who've already walked the path, right? And so our idea is to help you live the better you want in your life by sharing real life stories and real life struggles and wisdom of the people who have been there and done that. And it's not about sharing opinions. It's not about theories. It's about real life stuff. And my guest today is Tim Rosolio. Tim, welcome to Finding Better.
Good to see you, John, as always. I told people that I was going to see you, and they were like, "Oh, well, tell them I say hi." Uh,
Oh, okay.
so
Well, tell him hi back. Tell him
yeah,
hi back. Yeah. So Tim is a vice president at Expedia Group, and he's responsible for the vacation rental partnerships of the company. And we're going to talk a little bit about this. And so you're probably asking yourself, what can I learn from a VP of Expedia for crying out loud? You can learn a lot. Tim and I have been working together for a long time. I worked in the vacation rental space during the days before people didn't even know how to spell vacation rental, and everything was done on fax machines. And Tim and I have known each other, gosh, Tim, for well over a decade.
yep.
And so we're going to talk about what I'm calling two powers. Okay. And this is amazing. Tim, I have learned so much from Tim myself over the time that we've worked together, and it has just been an amazing relationship. And the thing that I love about Tim is that even now, as he's grown into a VP at Expedia Group, which is a very large company, he's still a nice guy. He's still an amazing person.
Sometimes
And
you'll
sometimes
you'll
when he feels
see.
like it. But the two powers we're going to talk about today are the power of doing something you love, which is huge. And we're also going to talk about the power of building relationships to do better business. He's fond of saying to get out a PowerPoint and talk to your customers, talk to your teams. So we're going to talk about that because it is so important, and this is one great way to live better in your life. So Tim, what's up, dude?
Uh, Great to see you as always. There's a lot that's up. There's a lot that's up in the vacation rental space, which we're excited about.
It's
Uh,
amazing.
the industry has come a very long way since you were running Escapia and doing a variety of things here, getting to know our property managers, which are still some of my biggest customers that I talk to on a day-to-day basis.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you talk a little bit about doing something you love. I mean, I think a good portion of what made you great in your career was you did something that you love.
Oh, totally loved it. Totally loved it. Yeah,
And
and
it's
and I grew to love it. I learned to love it. A lot of times you don't walk into a job saying, "I love this." Right? But you evolve and you build your work around the things that you're really good at. And so let's talk about that power, Tim, the power of doing something you love.
Yeah. So maybe I'll just give a little bit of my background. I mean,
Yes, please.
prior to my time with HomeWay or Verbo or Expedia, or I've worked for all three of those companies, but they've all kind of been the same thing at different phases, right?
Right.
I was in consulting, and when I was in consulting, they send us in for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months, a year. They'd send us in somewhere to help solve a problem. And what I would say is I felt a little bit like a hired gun.
Mm.
And I worked
Hmm.
on trying to solve problems for, I worked with a power plant company. I worked with a company that imported parts from China and built toilets and then sold toilets. I worked with a variety of
Toilets are
different,
important.
yeah,
Toilets are important.
I
You know,
mean,
I mean, try.
important, yes, but am I passionate about toilets? I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
someone who's
right.
passionate about toilets, maybe like the Kohler family or something like that, they're
Yeah,
probably passionate about
right,
toilets. But I
right.
think it'd be a red flag if someone's super passionate about toilets. Um,
Well, I'll tell you something. If you got to go to the bathroom and you're running and you get there and the toilet's not working, you become really passionate about toilets really fast.
Briefly, wildly passionate.
That's right. That's right. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Um, so during that period of time, like come into client, work on a project, hopefully solve a problem. You get out, you go work on the next thing. And I was well paid, and that was great. Um, but
And
my
you
life,
were a hired gun. You felt like a
yeah,
hired gun, but you
for
were a
sure.
hired gun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a job. It was a
Yeah.
job. It was a
Right.
job that probably could have blossomed into a career, but it wouldn't have been a career that I loved. And I think perhaps because I didn't love it, like maybe it would have capped my ceiling about like how good I really could have been at it. Um, but when I got
Yeah.
into the vacation rental space, um, I found something that I could really, like, in an emotive way, get behind. Because what I saw was two things. I saw that our industry was providing families and groups literally the best experiences of their lives. Like, if you
Right.
think back to some of
Wonderful.
the experiences that you've had with your family or your friends, I think you go to Hawaii a lot, you indicated.
Hmm.
Like, some of those are the best memories of your life. And then
Absolutely.
on the flip side, you have the partner side of the business, and there's different types of partners. There's people that own individual homes, and they're not rich people, but because they've been able to rent their houses on our platform, they can own a beach house or a lake house or a ski home that, like, I don't know, I guess when I was growing up, I always thought that that was something that a rich person had. But there are relatively normal everyday people that have been able to enjoy all the benefits of having those homes because of our platform. And maybe to
Because
take that a step
because
further,
they're making a business out of it.
yeah,
Right?
they make a small
Yeah.
boutique business out of it.
Right.
And to take that a step further, there's examples of people that some people manage them themselves, other people hire someone to manage them for them, and that's the property management community.
Right.
And a lot of these property managers, like what they started doing was they managed three properties and they were great at turnover and they were great at making sure it was clean every time and they were great at hospitality. But because they were so good at it, they started from being like a very small business to now, like, I don't know, you talk to some of these folks, they're doing really well. They've built, you know, a tremendous amount of wealth and a tremendous amount of respect in their community. And I think, a lot of them, because they're hospitality junkies, they love they love what they're delivering. Um,
Absolutely.
so, like, if you think of that entire package, traveler, individual owner, small businesses, that's something I could get behind. And that transformed my entire career because I was so excited to come to work every day and help people do these things.
No kidding. No kidding. And I remember us working together. Folks, Tim is brilliant. He's amazingly smart. And he did a lot of the analytics and a lot of the business analytic work. And he came to us with all kinds of different insights that nobody ever thought of in terms of how to make things better, right? How to make things better for the property managers, for the owners, and for travelers. And so, and as we talked about this, right? You mentioned that a lot of these property managers started off with three homes,
Yep.
and today some of them manage hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, in some cases thousands, right?
Yep.
And turn them into really big business. And then, from whence we've come, in comes the larger companies like Expedia Group and so forth, right? into the vacation rental space. And Expedia is a big company, and I want to talk about a little bit about shift a little bit to the better building relationships part of it, because in a world where big companies can sometimes feel distant or impersonal, right? Um, what drives you, and what are the kinds of things that you do to give your customers the advantage of a big company, right?
Yep.
And what do you do to show them that you really do care about them?
Yeah, I think I'd probably there's a what and then there's a how, right?
Right.
And I think that the
Absolutely.
what in my mind is like the very basic thing that my team of we have 250 global account managers. I mean, a lot of what we do is we use data to identify opportunities for property managers and for individual owners to do better on our platform. Like that's the what. And
To do better
um,
business, right?
yeah, to do better business. And so that might be
Hmm.
like you provide travelers a more flexible cancellation policy. That might be disclosing more about the amenities and the amazing things that you have within your home. There's a variety of different levers that we pull. But listen, like the reality is somebody probably could get that information. Like you could read that in a pamphlet, or you could probably read that on our website. But
Sometimes. Okay,
yeah,
so I want to interject here. Um, the kinds of information that I saw coming from you, you could not find in a newspaper. I mean, maybe if you looked through 1,000 different periodicals, and you know what I mean? I mean, yeah, but for me, that one of the things I loved was that you could provide, you being yourself and also the big company being Verbo and Expedia Group, you could offer insights through that data that people couldn't otherwise get or create,
that's a fair
right?
distinction. I think like it is very basic for us to tell a partner that you should disclose that you have Wi-Fi because
Oh,
travelers
well,
want
sure.
Wi-Fi. That's
Yeah,
probably something good for the website. What is more powerful is when we can talk about all of the various insights that we're seeing surrounding rates and availability of these properties in your market. What are people looking at in terms of booking patterns? I mean, you don't just need data, you also generally need a person that can actually step you through that. That's
right.
still in the what category, though. The how, the how I think is where the secret sauce is. And the how is by building a relationship and getting to know what actually is the motivation of your client, of your property manager, of your owner, of your customer. And I think it probably applies to any degree of account management or sales where you really understand what are their goals, and you can only do that if you have a conversation with them. Can't do that in PowerPoint, can't do that in Excel. Because I think specifically if you're just looking at the numbers, you know, sometimes you might say, like, oh, like this is I can do this, this, and this, and I can be revenue maximizing. And the spreadsheet says that's all this person cares about. However, when you talk to the people that my team talks to and people I talk to, that's probably part of it. But very often it's because these people um, love providing jobs in their community, and they love what they do as an industry for their community, for the housekeepers, for the maintenance workers, for people in like a lot of these places are, they're beach towns. Like these
They're
businesses,
vacation spots.
yeah, yeah, this is
Yeah.
not Manhattan,
Yeah,
It's
a lot of these places are out in the middle of nowhere.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
I mean, the spots, like Myrtle Beach, but there's even ones that are smaller. It's a small beach town. It's Gulf Shores, Alabama. And this is a opportunity to really drive a lot of impact for people in that community. And other people are motivated by just providing the hospitality, like the probably the dopamine rush that they get every time that they know they deliver that traveler. one of the best experiences of their lives, like that's what motivates them. And I don't think in PowerPoint, I can't tell that. In PowerPoint, all I say is, how do I make this person more money? And um, I think there's something incredibly powerful about having that conversation face to face with somebody uh, to really understand, like, how can we have mutually beneficial results based on what they actually want rather than just like, oh, I don't know, let's make a lot more money.
Right, right. Um, I've got so many things running through my head right now based on what you just said, because it is so true. We live in a world, and in the emerging world of artificial intelligence, right? There is so much out there, and one of the things that I believe, I coined this phrase, Tim, that we've gotten so smart we've forgotten our heart. And what you're talking about is data is our smarts. Talking to people is our heart.
Mhm.
And I remember having a conversation with a marketing person. I'm not going to name any names. You probably know who this person is. But
I can't wait to hear this.
one of the things that I recommended was that Expedia uh, not hire me, but move me into a position of being the technology evangelist for the vacation rental industry. And the job that I suggested was to get out there, and my job wasn't to sell. I told them, you're not going to pay me a commission on this. My job is to just go out there and learn and understand and talk to our customers, because we were living in a time when there was so much change. When we moved from being a directory to an e-commerce platform, you remember this?
Yep. We
And
were in the trenches together.
one of the marketing people came up to me and said, "John, I don't get it." I said, "You don't get what?" She says, "I don't get what your job is." I said, "Well, my job is to get out there and understand our customers, understand where they're coming from, understand what really drives them, and show them that we care about them." And she says, "Well, we know all that. We know everything we need to know." I said, "Well, how do you know everything you need to know? We do surveys. We do surveys all the time. So what value are you gonna?" She was genuinely interested, and I thought to myself, how do I explain this to her? But I see more and more companies, especially in sales uh, and everything, utilizing AI more and more. And so the question I wanted to ask you is, in this world that's evolving and becoming more dependent on technology as we move forward, what do you think is going to be the impact on relationship building? Do you
Yeah.
think AI will take that part of
I mean,
take
I think
that?
it can, because
Uh-huh.
the problem is if I asked AI, what do property managers want? I think it would tell me that they want to figure out how do they grow their business from 3 properties to 500 properties and then exit for 10 million. And I can tell you there's a bunch of property managers that you and I know that, like, they'd be like, that's not what I want. I probably could do that if I wanted, but that's not what I want.
Right.
And
Right.
AI doesn't know that. Um, so you still need to figure out what emotively motivates people. And who knows with the technology and how it will evolve, but like AI can't do that today. And I don't think it's going to be able to do it particularly soon.
Yeah, yeah. We talked, 5 years ago, in the world at the time, which was about machine learning, right? That AI was coming, and that it was going to do a whole lot of things, but one of the things that it may not ever be able to do is to replace human connection, right? Is to replace that heart part of who we are, replace our humanity. Now, a lot of people will argue otherwise, that it's possible, and who knows what's going to happen. But I love the fact that you're still getting out there. I mean, you guys are using AI a lot.
Yep.
You are largely a technology company, and yet here you are, getting on airplanes, sitting down across tables, eyeball to eyeball, knee to knee, and you're learning what our customers, your customers, I'm calling them our customers, right? I've been retired for almost 3 years. I'm still calling
There are
them
customers.
our customers. But I think that's wonderful. I think that's wonderful. Do you see uh, an end to that?
I I don't know how the machine can ever learn it because the machine doesn't have a heart.
There you go. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah,
I
and
really
it's
do.
interesting. I mean, the machines also make mistakes, right? I mean, I'll tell you a little story. You know,
Yeah.
we you know, so in the vacation rental space, obviously you can imagine it's very important what your first picture is. And um
The
we
first
did this
picture that you
test.
see about that property when you're
Yeah,
going through hundreds and hundreds of properties, that first picture you see. Yeah.
that really matters. And as you can imagine, like the property managers themselves, based on what they know about their book of business and their location, they have a pretty good spider sense of like, this is the sort of stuff we could show. We ran a test where our machines thought that it's like, you know what people like? The machines show that people like staring at the pictures of the water. So we ran a test to try to automatically choose those, what they call them as hero images. And what happened was our website turned into a website of pictures of the ocean and pools. And as you can imagine in this space, the home itself kind of matters. So, I mean, and as you can imagine, what happened is me and my team got a call from every property manager that said, well, what are you doing? I think you
Yeah.
guys got it wrong. Now, because we have these relationships, we were able to have a conversation with the tech teams and be like, whoa, 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 whoa. And we did turn it off and we provided that selection back to the people rather than the humans. So it's an
So,
interesting example of how like, hey, this thing isn't perfect yet.
and and that could be some of the greatest advice you could give people that you've just given is you can trust it, but make sure, right? I don't mean to get into politics, but I think Reagan said trust but verify.
Yeah.
And right, and even today, don't take it at face value all the time, right? Go review it someplace else with another AI someplace or somebody, And so, yeah, yeah, and I don't know if that part of technology is ever going to change. I mean, it's not infallible, right?
It will get more sophisticated, but there's still an end user that is looking for results out of it. And somebody somebody needs to go talk to that person, say, hey, what do you think about this? And preferably they're having that conversation of what do you think about this before you sort of like push the button on the whole website.
Yeah.
So that's a lesson we've learned. And I think you've learned a few
Okay.
times too.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that because I'm like, wait a minute. You guys hit the button and it went out.
We might have hit the button.
Yeah, yeah. And that's awesome. That's awesome. All right. So let's kind of summarize what we talked about. We talked about the power of doing something you love. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that that is massively, massively powerful because if you love what you're doing, the old saying that if you love what you do, you don't have to work a day in your life. That's a little bit extreme, but the point kind of gets out there, right? My father-in-law, amazing man, he's gone now, but he once told me, he said, people like what they're good at. So whatever you're doing, get good at it, right? And so there's a distance between where you are and love. That's kind of a midpoint. That can be kind of your journey into
Probably a
finding what you
spectrum.
love because a lot of people you don't know what I mean, you didn't you were passionate about vacation rentals, but you actually learned to love it during the process of being part of it, right?
When I was in consulting, I couldn't wait to stop working. And these days, I
Yeah.
I I work, I mean, I work a lot because I love it, because I
Yes.
love what we provide.
And
And
that's
it's not, it's
awesome.
not, it's and
That's awesome.
it's not about what sort of bonus am I going to get. It's because I genuinely love it.
And you're helping people. Yeah, it's you're helping just about everybody on the planet because everybody, there's a lot of travelers out
Mhm.
there, and you're helping your direct customers, being the property managers and the owners. And it's all about helping people. One of the things that I learned in my life is that really ours is to serve others. And when you figure out how best to do that from your heart, it life gets good.
No, no,
Life becomes good.
you could argue at our core, that's what we want to do.
Totally.
That's what I want to do.
All right. Yes. So Tim, giving you the platform to say whatever you want to say to whoever you want to say, uh, to close us out.
Oh boy. How are we going to wrap a bow on this? I think in general, I would say that find what makes you happy and then get after it, and it will make for a very satisfying life because ever since I've been doing this, uh, it's been a great run, and I think you had a pretty good run too. So,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're still hanging out, which
yep,
is
yeah, yeah.
which
You
is
meet people along
amazing,
the way, which is fun
right?
too.
Yeah, yeah. And get to it. I love how you just ended this conversation with that. Because in this podcast, in our Finding Better podcast, we it's amazing the people that I've have come to me and have become part of this movement, if you will, are amazing people. And their experiences and their advice and the life stories that they share are life changing. But you
Yeah,
gotta
I
do
love
the
the show
work. Yeah, right, thank you. But as great as any advice is only as good as what you do with it, right? So when you said get at it, folks, get to it, do the
Yeah,
work. So with that, Tim, thank you for joining me. Congratulations on your success. I love the fact that you're continuing to maintain personal relationships with your customers, and I can't wait to have you back.
for sure, man. It's great to see
I
you.
love I love you, brother. I love you.
You
God
too,
bless
pal.
you. All you out there, I love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Get out there and start doing what makes you happy. Okay. And if you can't figure it out immediately, just set your mind to figure it out eventually, and it'll happen. Okay. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you. Bye.